This is the Dallas Morning News.
Eat, Drink, DFW from the Dallas Morning News is made possible by Central Market.
Hey, North Texas food fans, it's time for another episode of Eat, Drink, DFW from the Dallas Morning News. Every week, our food staff loves to dig into the local restaurant scene, talk about food and drink trends, and those things that make North Texas, North Texas. This is Anna Butler. I'm the News' food and events editor. We're catching up on the latest restaurant news in Dallas-Fort Worth, including the James Beard Awards, so stick around. You won't want to miss this.
Central Market is really into food. Like when we say cheese, it's in 12 languages into food. Butchers, bakers, and sushi roll makers into food. We're talking so obsessive about quality you can shop blindfolded into food. Central Market is really into food. If you are too, then let us turn your shopping list into a treasure map. Get inspired, get adventurous, or just get a chef-made dinner when you've got more taste buds than time. No place makes every meal more amazing like Central Market. Really into food. Shop now at centralmarket.com.
Visit dallasnews.com/food for all the latest food and restaurant news you need, and we would love to hear from you. If you have food questions, need some restaurant ideas, or have some other important information to share with the Dallas Morning News food team, please email us at eatdrink@dallasnews.com. I am joined by our food writers Claire Baller, Sarah Blaskovich, and Imelda Garcia, and I'm excited to see all of y'all because I finally got to go to a place I've been wanting to try.
Ooh, which one?
Or maybe we've all been wanting to try it. The Chumley House in Fort Worth at the new Crescent development in the Cultural District. It's the Duro Hospitality one, so the people behind Mr. Charles, The Charles, Sister, El Carlos Elegante. Did I get all of them?
Cafe Duro.
Cafe Duro.
Sister. You said sister.
I did say sister.
It's a long list.
Okay, so my very favorite thing about this was they just made you feel so special the whole time. I loved the ambiance. I walked in and I said I would design my house this way. It's decked in plaids and the hunting spode, which is like one of my favorite things of all time. It's British food, so it kind of goes hand in hand, but it had that kind of English country garden feel to it, or you're on an estate somewhere. And, you know, service is always impeccable at their places, but you sit down and they're like, here's some rose and lychee tea. And it was just a really elegant little sip, but they also gave you scones with some cultured butter that was whipped.
To start dinner.
You just sat down and that was like the, hey, welcome. Again, I just felt so special the whole time. So there was so much attention to detail. British food, I think, gets a bad rap a lot of the time, and sometimes for good reason, as someone who doesn't love sausage and doesn't want to eat beans for breakfast. But they also incorporated in a lot of Indian influence, which you can see so much, especially in London cuisine. So they had, you know, a traditional pie, like a heartier meals in the wintertime fall in England, but they did a butter chicken one.
Ooh.
And it was really, really tasty. I think my favorite bite of the day was a duck special that they had. It was smoked duck breast with cherry and some mustard seeds in this really, really fantastic dashi. They served it on a flat plate. It looks like it's going to be a cold something. It's not, it's warm. And I was like, hey, how do I get this broth into my mouth? Because it's on a plate.
Yeah.
And I was like, is it okay to do this? And I don't know if anyone had asked them yet. Is it okay to use this flat plate and, you know, just pour it into my mouth? I think I embarrassed the person I was with by asking this question. But I wanted, like, if there's broth on something, I'm going to drink it.
Yes, yeah. And?
I think that's appropriate.
So what did you do?
I tilted it very ladylike and used a spoon.
Oh, no, Anna, no.
I'm frustrated by the architecture of that, Anna, and I understand why you asked that. How did the other lords and ladies at supper eat that?
I don't know if they even conceptualized of it. That being said, that was the only weird thing is I didn't know how to have all of my dashi, but otherwise I can tell y'all this. It ended with a flaming sticky toffee pudding that was absolutely delicious. All the cocktails were good. I do encourage y'all to try it if y'all want to try new things.
Wait, back to flaming?
Back to flaming.
It was on fire.
It was on fire.
Cool.
I have a film.
Oh, wow.
The sticky toffee pudding was served with a vanilla bean gelato. And I'm not a big vanilla ice cream person. This is one of the best things I've ever eaten in my life in terms of the vanilla spectrum.
I mean, we all know how I feel about vanilla ice cream. It can get right out and never come back.
Yeah.
There's no place for vanilla ice cream on any dessert, in my opinion, like ever.
This should have been there.
But you loved it.
I did.
What was it like getting a reservation? Was it hard?
I made it so early. And we also
early
went
in the day?
Definitely early in the day because it's me. The big takeaway from this was part of my boyfriend's Christmas present. So we were going to go there. And then afterwards we went to Bass Performance Hall to do the symphony, which makes me sound so cultured, but we were there to watch them do the John Williams, Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark score over the movie.
Which sounds awesome.
Yeah, a little different than like Tchaikovsky or, Mozart. It was so fun. And so I'd made it so far in advance, knew I wanted to go, made it at 5:00. But I will say it was absolutely packed because it's the Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo. So it was bumping and people were in cowboy hats and the whole 9 yards, which is, I do love going to Fort Worth for that reason. It feels like I'm in Texas.
And what about prices? Is it affordable?
No.
Okay. Good answer.
Yeah.
You could do it more affordably than we did it. We did 2 appetizers. We split entrees just so you could try so many things and then got side dishes. Like to me, I love zucchini, and they did this charred zucchini that had this puffed quinoa, like crispy quinoa on it, and charred garlic. Charred garlic is a specific flavor. I liked it. The person I was eating with, not a fan.
Not to be named.
Not to be named, that I already named. I think there's a way to probably go leave full and have a great time. Like I might split one of the pies. They have like a blue crab one and this chicken one, and then maybe get a side or an appetizer. I think you could do it more cost effectively than we did it, but because it was a big night, we chose to do it that way.
Yeah, but it's worth it for a special occasion.
Yes, it's that attention to detail in the service matches, because I think there are times I go to eat in Dallas or just across North Texas and I'm like, this is an expensive entree and I didn't feel special. And that's why I keep emphasizing special. It just front to end, the details were there. Everything's just pretty too. It's a space you want to be in. And so I was so excited that we went.
I love that feedback.
And on that note, we are going to take a very sharp right turn to talk about eggs. It's the thing everyone's asking us about because they are so expensive right now. Claire, you have been looking into this.
Yeah, not only are they so expensive, you can't find them. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I did my normal grocery run this weekend. And again, for the second week in a row, was met with completely empty egg cases. Actually, I take that back. There was 1 carton of eggs and they were all broken. So they're really hard to find right now, especially if you're shopping on a high volume day like a weekend. So I'm going to try again later this week. But have you guys seen this?
I have. And Claire, I don't know if this happened to you. It like caught me off guard to see empty shelves, and this like little doom moment happened during the pandemic. Like that little fear that you're like, what else can't I get? Or how serious is this? It was one of the first times since the pandemic that I've been in the grocery store and like you get that like little scared moment. It's like,
yeah,
we haven't gotten over the trauma of remembering that there were things we couldn't get.
It's toilet paper gate.
Of course.
Yeah.
I still go to the grocery store, and if I see like the Clorox wipes on sale, I'm like, I guess I should get some.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm like, I don't need them. I have 6. I live alone and I have 6.
That's a good point. Is there a real shortage or are people just buying them out?
So there is an actual shortage happening. This is all due to the bird flu. There's a really serious wave that has swept across the country and wiped out a large number of chickens. So therefore, we're seeing in real time far fewer eggs available. And the ones that we are seeing, they're a lot more expensive than eggs usually are. I saw one report that said egg prices are currently 37% higher than they were last year.
Wow.
The bad news seems to be also that elevated egg prices are going to continue. If you think about it, when you have a bird flu like that come in and wipe out a bunch of chickens, you don't just replenish the flocks real quickly, right? You've got to wait for those to build back up. So it's going to be a while until we see things level out. What I'm doing right now is spending some time calling restaurants and seeing how is this playing out for them. I've heard from one bakery that told me they are having a hard time, just like all of us, getting eggs. So what they've had to do is start ordering way further in advance than they normally do to make sure that they don't end up shorthanded. That has already happened to them. And what they've had to do is just start driving around to stores and buy up what they can to make sure that they can produce enough pastries. To me, what will be interesting to see is if we are looking at a reality of extended high prices for eggs, are we going to start seeing really egg dependent dishes on menus start to increase in price as well? Time will tell.
That's reminding me just of rice souffles. I don't know what you're going to do.
Yeah, and we love Rise.
I love Rise.
We're going to hope and pray that Rise can still make those souffles for us.
That they can rise to the occasion.
Nailed it. Nailed it.
I am so sorry. How much higher can egg prices go for this?
When you think about how dependent so many restaurants are on eggs, even non-breakfast places, I have 3 eggs left in my refrigerator And it's changing how I'm cooking right now, of like I'm rationing these 3 eggs I have left until I know I can find some more.
In more depressing news, we've had a lot of restaurant closures announced just in the past 2 weeks. I do just want to take a moment, not of silence. I do want to just talk about them, but it's like kind of sad. I feel like they're coming fast and furious. They usually do come at the end of the year or the beginning of a year, just because that's kind of the way the books work out. But it feels like there's a lot of big ones right now.
There are, and I am always struck by the restaurant closures for a place that's been around a long time. That's what tugs at my heartstrings, as like a place, that 2 generations have grown up enjoying. Bluefish is one of those, the sushi place on Greenville Avenue. It was the first Bluefish, and then it became a bigger chain, and then even became a franchise. And the original Bluefish on Greenville is gone after 25 years. Morton's, the steakhouse, is another one in Uptown. It had 2 locations in Dallas, and together they were open 37 years. You hear these stories of like, oh, I got proposed to there, or that was our anniversary spot for, 37 years. And so you hate to see those kind of closures.
And talking about sad stories, I have a really, really sad story for you guys. Campo Verde in Arlington is closed.
Aww.
Yes, that staple of the community there, 42 years.
Wow.
Wow, yeah, since 1983, I think. Nobody knows if this is for good or this is just for a short period of time. So I was told by employees that they put first a sign in the door saying that the closure will be like January 14. But last week, they all were laid off. So, yeah. I went there on Saturday evening. There was 2 notes on the door, one from a vendor and another from one diner maybe. It said, "Looks like you all shut down the place, a staple of the area. Shouldn't have changed the queso dip." So this say a lot of what happened. Yeah.
I do want to know the inside story of that queso. Like, what was it and what did it become?
I know, right?
Sounds like a deep cut.
Have you ever been there?
I haven't.
I have. The Christmas decor is so gimmicky and silly that it's just a ton of fun. I ate there with Evan Grant, our famous sports reporter, and we just had a fun dinner.
I ran into Evan at Central Market on Sunday, and we just casually did some of our grocery shopping just in parallel with one another.
Oh, wow.
You're like, you again.
Oh, hello.
I have one more closure to share. Nusret Steakhouse in Dallas near Clyde Warren Park has closed after almost 4 years. Nusret, for anybody who does not remember, was opened by an Instagram famous butcher who went by the name of Salt Bae.
Wow.
And he was known because he would slap, slice, and salt his steaks with dramatic flair. So dramatic that a lot of people hated it. So when his restaurant came to Dallas, we wanted to see Salt Bae in the restaurant, and he was there for the opening. He salted, sliced, and slapped one of my steaks in front of me in the first week that Nusret was open. And I really wanted to hate it, but it was so alarming that it was a little bit fun. And then it was over in like 30 or 45 seconds and he was off.
I really just want to acknowledge how well you've hit all of these S's.
Thank you. Now, you know what I'm about to say. Nusret closed in January 2025. And we all thought it was going to close quicker than that. I wasn't rooting for it. Hear me on the record. I don't like it when restaurants close. This one, though, without the guy doing the thing, how could it possibly exist? And let me make it a little bit worse. You can spend a couple $100 extra on any dish, pretty much, if you want the chef staff to crust it in 24 karat gold flakes, edible ones. Which is just stupid.
It's a soft metal, so your body can break it down.
So Nusret closed, and their spokespeople haven't yet explained. So I don't know what happens next, and we may never. And that just feels like Salt Bae, to fly into town and salt some steaks and make a big old salt mess on the floor and then disappear.
Do you know if, because there's other locations of this restaurant around the world, country, world?
World.
Do you know if others have closed?
I don't believe that many of those in the US or otherwise have closed. As of the date of the closure, there were still some in London and Dubai and Miami, New York City, Las Vegas. you can guess where these kinds of restaurants would thrive, right? Places with a huge nightclub culture, places with lots of travelers. Maybe you've heard of this guy on Instagram, but you never had the opportunity to go to one of his steakhouses. And you do have $950 to spend on a gold encrusted tomahawk steak.
Which is a deal now because when the restaurant opened, that steak was $1,100.
That's exactly right, Anna. Yes, when I went, I made a bullet point list at the bottom of the story of just some examples of what stuff cost. And I'm so glad I did that now because some of those prices have changed. At most restaurants between 2021 and 2025, those numbers would have gone up. That's what has happened with inflation. At Nusret, some of those numbers have gone down because they were already too high to begin with. And also, how do we pay for an Instagram famous guy's place when the Instagram famous guy isn't there?
This just makes me wonder how this will continue to play out, this relationship between internet fame and the restaurant world. The collective memory for society is so short, especially in the age of TikTok, because this is a relatively new thing that we're seeing in the past, 5 years or so, of people who make it big on the internet for some food thing, capitalize on it by going all out and actually having brick and mortar spaces. This clearly didn't work out here. It will be interesting to see if others meet the same end.
When I posted on X that Nusret has closed, I kind of expected readers to all have my opinion, which is like, sorry to see it go, but was it already still there anyway? And that was not the across the board reaction in the first 30 minutes after I posted this story. So I want to play a game. We're going to read just short tweets that people said responding to this Nusret story. I've assigned each of you a line. So my tweet said, Salt Bay's restaurant Nusret closed in Dallas. It's reportedly temporary because there's the option that it might not actually be closed forever. Then I said on X, I open the floor for comments. Claire, please read the first comment.
This comment says Dallas is an incredibly harsh restaurant market. True, but was that the problem here?
No, but
Probably
what a
not.
nice thing to say. I mean, I was like, oh, what an optimist. Okay, Anna.
Didn't know he had one here.
There we go.
That's even sad.
That's a sick burn in a different way. Imelda.
They ran out of sweaty arm salt? We don't know. I mean, wow.
Obviously, that's my favorite comment. They're out of sweaty arm salt, and so they had to close.
Wow.
It's not the reason, but that's funny. And then I'll end. One guy simply said, good riddance. So in 4X comments, we recognize that people felt wildly differently about this place. Between I've never heard of it to I hate it to man, that's how restaurants go.
My favorite thing about it is I knew where the restaurant was, but I didn't understand their branding. So every time I passed that building, which is along Clyde Warren Park, it was actually one of the most expensive buildings to ever sell in Dallas, which is one of my favorite stats about it. But I thought it said Nurse ER. So it was like one of those dock in the box places, but it was the steakhouse.
Oh, that's a branding problem.
I just want to know the person that ate a $1,000 steak. I think there's a story there. So if you ate that, please send us an email.
Love that. eatdrink@dallasnews.com.
You can read more about these closures and more by visiting dallasnews.com/food. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the James Beard Awards after this.
Central Market is really into food, like fish flown in so fresh it still has jet lag into food. Our sourdough starter has been around since grunge was a thing into food. We're talking more prime cuts than a greatest hits album into food. Central Market is really into food. If you are too, then we're the HQ for you. Whether you're a make every recipe in the cookbook foodie or a my favorite recipe is reheat type who just digs the delectable, no place makes every day more delicious like Central Market. Really into food. Shop now at centralmarket.com.
Welcome back. We are about to jump into the James Beard Awards, but real quick, I've got an ask for you. We would love it if you would help spread the word about our podcast. If you like it, please tell your friends or anyone you think would appreciate all the important information we share every week. It would mean the world to us. So, restaurant chefs and bars across the Dallas area made an appearance on the 2025 list of the James Beard Awards restaurant and chef semifinalists. It's really important to note that semifinalists is not the final stop on the journey. This is just the first look that we're getting at what James Beard's looking at, and then we'll get winners of categories. One of my other favorite things to note is no one in the Dallas area has actually won a category since 1994. Whoa. We certainly have semifinalists. We just don't win them, which for me does have a weird parallel with Michelin. That being said, this list is not a one-for-one with the Michelin list, which I thought was really exciting.
Anna, remind our listeners who's on the list this year.
We have one of the semifinalists for the emerging chef category, and that's Chef RJ Yoakum of Georgie, who moved here from California. He had been with the French Laundry at a certain point. We have a best new restaurant category contender, and that is Mabo, which is in Preston Center. We actually have people that are part of some new categories. So outstanding bar, we have Apothecary in Lower Greenville. And then we also have Bar Colette in West Village is among the semifinalists for Best New Bar. And that latter category is new. Outstanding Bar is not. For Best Chef Texas, we actually have 5 chefs from 3 different restaurants. One is Smoke and Ash Barbecue, and another is Doña Maria, which is in Irving. And then I struggle to say this last one.
I can help you. Purépecha.
And that's Regina Rojas' spot in Deep Ellum.
It's the revolver taco pairing, essentially. It's like the omakase taco one. Am I thinking of the right thing?
Yes.
The other thing that we have in here is also Starship Bagel is among the semifinalists for Outstanding Bakery.
I think it's interesting to see the diversity of these nominations, specifically with the Doña Maria, because they sell Dominican food. Purépecha is Mexican food. Smoke and Ash, let's remember that is like an Ethiopian Texan thing. So it's very, very interesting, these nominations.
That's a great point, Imelda.
I think it's also great to see a lot of new names on this list that have not been on any James Beard list before. In years past, last year was one of them, there were a lot of frequent flyers, so to speak, of people who we frequently see on such lists. And this year, there are quite a few who have never had a James Beard nod before.
Yeah, I went through and also just wanted to point out who also had a Michelin nod of some kind. So Georgie and Smoke and Ash were both recommended. And then Apothecary's sister restaurant, Rye, was also recommended. And then Julian Schaefer, the bar manager, received Michelin's Exceptional Cocktails Award. I thought that was interesting that it wasn't every single thing on this list was also a Michelin thing.
I'd been thinking a lot about the difference between James Beard and Michelin and how diners, more specifically, not really chefs or restaurateurs, but diners, how they should care or not care about the differences. And the James Beard list this year felt like it was created by people who live in our community. And in fact, it was. As I understand it, the way the James Beard semifinalists list comes together is through nominations from chefs themselves, journalists. Can members of the public make a nomination too? Yes. So this list feels like it was created by our community, and that's a compliment. I did not think the first year of Michelin nods felt like it was created by our community. And it wasn't. We know that the Michelin inspectors come in, they look at our food with probably a more unbiased lens, to be honest, with a global perspective and a checklist that's probably a mile long of what their standards are. While Michelin looked at our barbecue and at our Tex-Mex and some of our contemporary Mexican food, it didn't feel like they put together a list, for Dallas people, even though Dallas was a little bit on the list.
I think the community informed piece of this is so interesting because when you talk to chefs, whether in Texas or outside of Texas, about the best food in Texas, chefs love Houston. And what was interesting about Michelin is that Austin was the darling of the Michelin Awards. And then this James Beard set of semifinalists actually really gravitated towards Houston. I thought that was interesting to me because it does kind of feel like that community piece of it, which isn't a knock on Austin or San Antonio or Dallas, but it's just funny because I will say most foodies are like, we love Houston.
Great point. I also want to give a little +1 to a restaurant we don't talk about that much on this list, which is Mabo in Dallas's Preston Center. This is one of the most expensive restaurant experiences in Dallas. It's $200 a person for yakitori omakase. So yakitori refers to the Japanese grill where the vegetables and the meat and the fish are cooked. Omakase refers to the fixed menu that the chef creates and that the diner does not get to choose themselves. I have dined at Mabo on my own dime. I should point out it was a pricey evening and it was super exciting. Really cool food. And Chef Masa co-owned Teppo for years on Greenville Avenue. That was a sushi restaurant that had yakitori. And this is, his fancier version after Teppo closed. And Mabo is really worth the money. And I'm glad to see it on this list. Was a little bit surprised it didn't make Michelin's list, but it might have opened a little too late for them to give it a good look. And I would be very surprised if Mabo was left off of Michelin's list in 2025.
I only hope Chef Regino Rojas from Purepecha finally this year gets an award, because he was nominated in 2018, 2019, 2020, 2022, 2023, and 2024. So this is the seventh time that he has been nominated. So esta es la buena, Regino. Let's go for it.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time putting together some data on just our results over the years, just because I always think it's fun to look at things. If you went to dallasnews.com/food, you'll be able to find a baby database that I made of our results over the last 10 years.
And they're not great. I think we pointed out, always a bridesmaid, never a bride. Anybody paying attention, unlike Michelin, which announces winners and then it's over, this is a longer process. So we're going to call these folks semifinalists. We will have news stories, several of them, over the next couple of months. I believe it's summertime when we declare winners. So hang on to your hats. We're going to keep talking about it.
And Sarah is right. You might get sick of hearing about the James Beard Awards, but we do want to hear your thoughts about those. Please email us at eatdrink@dallasnews.com. And don't forget to keep up with all of our latest stories by visiting dallasnews.com/food. That's all the time we have for this week. This show is produced by Julie Fisk. To catch up on every episode of this show and hear more from our newsroom, just follow the Dallas Morning News wherever you get your podcasts. And if you like what you hear, please rate the show and leave a review. Yes, please do that. Find links to all of our work at dallasnews.com/listen. You'll also find a special membership offer there. For the news, I'm Anna Butler. We appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Eat, Drink, DFW from the Dallas Morning News is made possible by Central Market.